Pivot charts, like pivot tables, let you dynamically rearrange your data. In this movie, I will show you how to pivot a pivot chart so that you can change how the chart summarizes your data. I will use the Pivoting Sample Workbook, which you can find in the Chapter 6 folder of your exercise files archive. When you first open the file, you will probably see that cell A1 in the pivot table is selected. That means that instead of seeing the pivot chart controls, you'll see the pivot table fields pane over on the right side of the program window. If you pivot the pivot table that supplies the values for a pivot chart, then the pivot chart changes as well. So for example, if you drag the quarter field from the columns area to the rows area below department, then the pivot chart changes. And I'll press Ctrl Z to undo that change. In this case, because I'm focusing on pivot charts, I'll click the pivot chart so that I get the pivot chart tools contextual tabs on the ribbon and also the pivot chart fields pane on the right side of the program window. Let's say that I want to rearrange the pivot chart so that it displays department as the series, in other words, where the quarters currently are, and to put the quarters along the horizontal axis. To do that, all I need to do is drag the quarter field to the axis area and drag the department field to the legend or series area. Doing so displays the departments as bars within each of the four quarters. And of course, I can remove a field. For example, if all I cared about was total sales by quarter, then I could remove the department field by dragging it from the legend area up to the pivot chart fields area. And Excel rearranges the pivot chart so that it only displays sales data in total for each of the quarters. And if I want to put the department field back in the legend area, all I need to do is drag it down, and Excel recreates the pivot chart based on the new arrangement. Pivoting a pivot chart lets you rearrange your data visually, and it can make for some very striking comparisons. As with every aspect of pivot tables and pivot charts, take the time to experiment for the look that explains your data as best it can.